Hey guys, in this video from brakes. So I'm just gonna explain you a little bit on what kind of system we have here on the tire, and yeah, after that it will be dismantled. So basically, most of the system is Nissin. It's a Japanese brand. It's a good brand. So you have the master cylinder is Nissin, which I'm planning to change it with the Brembo. It's an update, and I'm thinking maybe in the future I will change it because that will give you the best upgrade you can do on your brakes concerning power delivery. Okay, you have much more stopping power. The master cylinder is very important in this case, but we will see. It's not for now. The rest, of course, this is also Nissin, the caliper. The handles, they're just, I have an upgrade, a Triumph upgrade from the Triumph shop. They look very, very, very nice. The rotors, they were Sunstar, but they got warped. After I was riding very, very hard, the discs just gave up. So I think the quality was discussable. So that's why I also decided to upgrade them, and I have here an EBC rotor, which is a fully floating system, which basically is made for light or medium track use. They state EBC, you can look it up, VEE rotor. They state that it's basically heat treated in a better way, and also back tempered to have better feeling and more stopping power, better heat management. So this is here, the carrier is aluminium and the rotor is some kind of steel. So this will heat up more the outside and this will stay cooler. As always, also with a fixed rotor, this is the same, but they will warp faster. So there's the most modern bikes, they come with this kind of system. And there's also an air gap that creates this cooling. Yeah, because the aluminium here and the steel, they don't really touch. They only touch by the rivets. And EBC uses a special kind of rivet. Not a round one, but a square one on the inside. So a very good brake, I really like it. But you also have to use special pads for it, also from EBC. So it's also an important thing. Before I forget, we also have the brake pads. You should always follow the recommendation that is stated by the factory, or by Triumph in this case could be, or by EBC or Sunstar, who say which you should use, which type of brake pads you should use, because you have, depending on the type, if I use, you have two types, or maybe three, but you have like the organic, the semi-organic, and you have the sintered for street use. So basically, the sintered ones are really under pressure and heat, or all sort of metal particles compressed together, and they give way more bite. They're way more aggressive. They're louder. They also tend to need a little bit more temperature before they bite at their maximum capacity. But they work when they're cold. But just to have, to work best, they need temperature. While the other ones, the organics, they're very soft. They're made from an organic material, and they tend to have a very nice feel, but they wear out very, very quickly. And if I should use organics in this system, I would ruin my rotors, because they actually state that I should have sintered ones. So I use them. And they also go a long way. They're pretty good. This is one from the back, and it's the same. It's actually the same material because I have the same rotor in the back, also a VEE rotor. and they tend to work well. So just think about it when you buy new brake pads. It's a fairly easy job to do, is to change these, but be aware of it that you should check the manual and take the right type, or you could have big expenses. Okay, here we have on the brake, on the caliper brake, we have a radial type. So you used to have axial types. That means that the fixing of the caliper is made perpendicular to the riding direction. And it has more vibrations, especially when you push it. It was not that efficient. Radial brakes as well as floating rotors, they come from track. There used to be, I think maybe in the mid 90s or maybe a little bit sooner, they start using it, and now it's on production bikes. So you also have one here. You have four pistons, opposing pistons, they call it, two here and two here, and they will divide, of course, the stopping power more. The good thing about floating discs is that it also, fully floating, they will allow a little bit more lateral movement, because your rotor with heavy use will expand a bit. When you have opposing pistons, they will also manage that more. It's just more efficient. Here, this spring is just your a spring that's in there. That's to prevent squealing. It will keep your pads better fixed. And then here's a banjo bolt. I think we all know this. This is will let the oil come into the fluid, the brake fluid actually, will come into the system and will divide this. So they're very good. I like them. It's not Brembo, but I think it's as good as a standard Brembo caliper, because they're radial mounted and they also have opposing pistons. So basically, this is it. I'll come back on the pads later, but for now I think we're good. Right, we have the caliper on the bench. So you can see this is one that's actually I can't use anymore. Yeah, but the principle is the same. You take it off the bike and then you have to open it. So you always start knowing that it is always a lot of fluids, so goggles could be nice. So I use it, or glasses, or whatever you call it. The first thing you release is the split pin, and the split pin is in. There's a bolt here, and the bolt will hold the brake pads. Voila, you also have a spring, retaining spring. It just keeps the pads in its place. Should be in a good condition as well. If it's rusty or bent, then just change it. They don't cost a lot of money. It's really, they need to be in a good condition. Voila. I remove the banjo bolt. Right, let's see if there's still oil coming out. Actually fluids, it's fine. So the next thing, you have 4 bolts here. That's with an Allen key. Right, avoid basically to do a something not damage. It goes like this, so just stay to it. bolts, they have thread lock. Yeah. So we have to clean them up a bit. Then you should be fixed. Could be a lot of results. Remember that they start to corrode or rust, and these ones are good. Right, very nice. So you can see it is a seal right here. It's an important one. You should check them as well, but there were no leaks. So this is a channel where the oil will get forced and will push the pistons out. You can see there's a small and a big one, and the same here. So here you have the bungee bolt, which will get the fluid through, and then via this channel it connects with the other one, so it's always even divided. This is actually a fixed caliper on a floating disc. You also have the other way around. That means a floating disc means that your disc will come about. Yeah, this will just move your pistons, and your disc will floats. Okay, and in the other system you have floating calipers and a fixed disc. But later I will come back on this for the rear brake. So now basically the first job is to clean it. And you have brake fluid for it. It's very good. Yeah, important. Try and keep the pistons in the same place. Don't push them in. Yeah, or out before it's a little clean. So don't put yourself into any trouble. Just clean as good as you can. Yeah, and then put the pistons out. Go. Take a rack. So also in the pistons. Check them. All right. Okay, so now we're gonna remove the piston. I also need compressed air for it. So what you try to do is you try to make it evenly. It's just a little bit of trial and error, but I have to search and then I will find it. Got something here. Got one. That's why I'm wearing glasses. It's nasty stuff, man. Go. I'm gonna hold the one that came out. I'm gonna push it back and I hope the other one comes now. Give it a little bit. Maybe. Nope. Just keep trying, we'll get there. Okay. I use the rags to stop the oil and also to I hope that it doesn't fly off. Could happen. Happened already. Here we go. Just a little bit of air is okay. You don't need to force it. So here we go, we got him. So we're gonna check him. So this is the brake fluid. It's still in there. What we want is a clean piston. No real scratches, excuse me. No dips or cracks or rust or corrosion or anything. You just want it as smooth and as clean as possible, like this one. You can see, very nice, huh? And you have a second one. Same, very good. No scratches. Sometimes you can have like it's peeling off. And what really then happens is that it's gonna touch your seals and it's gonna rub them apart, and then you get leaks. Yeah, you don't want that. So normally you just buy a new kit, seal kit. Yeah? Cost about, I think, 60 euros. We'll give you the small seal here for the oil channel. We'll give you this one. This is for the bleeding valve. And then we'll give you 4 seals. The ones in the back, they're purely to stop the oil. The oil has to stay there. Of course, the piston also stops it, but this is to make it tight. And the top one has 2 functions. And not most people think, yeah, it stops dirt coming in, which is true, partly, but it has another function. So you can see it has, like, in the inside has 2 lips, and the function of the lips is basically, when you push on the brake, the piston's gonna come up. So you have a brake system, a friction system. The moment you release the brake, the piston can't stay where it is for 95%. It has to keep pressure, so the moment you touch the brake, you have a new brake, but it has to come back a little bit. You know, it has to sink in like a millimeter or less than a millimeter. And actually the thing doing this is this, the seal does this. So the moment you have your brake slipping, you know, like, hey, my brake is slipping, you feel the brake your calipers and your discs becoming hot, squealing, and you see it's just stuck, then you know you have to change the seals. And at that moment probably you also have to change the piston, because if it gets too hot, yeah, it'll not function as well anymore. But basically, this is the work of the seal, so you should check them. And also very important is that its seat is not corroded, and everything is still there. What I mean with everything, it's still very good, the integrity, and also the paint and all that stuff should be there. Okay, normally you remove that one as well. I'm not gonna do this now. Yeah. Then you place the new seals like this. They say, and they recommend, to use brake fluid before you put them in there. But yeah, I'm gonna stop this one, so I'm not gonna do this. What I'm gonna do, this is what I always do. And so you can see there's a little bit of an upgrade. The oil is okay, but that's like the cheap version. You buy one of these, you have it for the rest of your life. And you apply a little bit on the seals, just on the top of the seals. That's it. And this will prevent, first of all, it will keep the oil seals greased, and secondly, because you have to think the oil seals are away from the oil, basically. Only the second one, a little bit touching it, but they will, if you use it, excuse my my English, they will stay longer in new condition, because the grease will keep them smooth and souplesse, you know, workable. Because a dry seal is a dead seal. That's the beginning. If your seals are dry, then they're just gonna break. Yeah. This grease prevents drying out, but really not a lot, just really a little bit, and make sure it's not where the piston goes. So I'm just gonna clean it up a bit, double check every corner, clean it up if I see a little bit. Voilà. Perfect. Then you're gonna place them back. I do it like this. I just start rolling them in. The moment they catch, you know, and you push them in. They should go by themselves. I don't know if you can hear it. Please be seated. Next one, same principle. Sometimes when they're not coming, that means that they are just stuck, and you have to take pliers or other things to remove them, and then you know you have to buy a new kit, revision kit. Yeah, then there's no doubt. If they don't come, it means they've been stuck, and then you have a real problem, because that means that not alone your calipers will need an overhaul, but probably your discs as well. And that means new ones. You can't work on discs. If they're broken, you have to buy new ones. So it's the same principle. I'm not gonna show you again, because basically I'm just gonna clean them up and store it. Also both in very good condition. Very happy with that. Very nice. So a little bit. The reason I also make sure there's not a lot of grease in there is because you're just gonna push it in there. That's also, you don't want that. Everything past these seals, the back ones, is oil. There can't be grease there. So it's a very important note. All right. There you go. So we're gonna combine them back. Can't forget. Put the seal back in its place. Take the bolts. Now you have to torque them to 24 kilograms, 24 Newton meters. Voila. That's basically done. And you can establish them back on the bike. So I'm going to show you this. So, bleeding up the front brakes. The logical next step. I'll use Motul DOT4 as recommended by the manufacturer. So it says something about the dry point and the wet point. The boiling point has everything, which has everything to do with water. This oil is hygroscopic. It is made to absorb water that ingresses through lines and seals. It will come into the system anyway. Even if you use metal braided lines, it won't make any difference. It will make a difference, but still the air will come in there, and the air has moist, so you have that problem. So every 2 years they say change the fluid. So because otherwise you will have a boiling point that's way less. 245 when it's new and 160 after 2 years. That's a pretty big decrease. I think it's about 40%. So do not save on this. It doesn't cost a lot of money, but it's overlooked a hell of a lot of times. So we're not going to overlook it. The work is pretty straightforward if you understand the principle. You don't need a lot. You need the fluid. You need something like this, turkey baster or something else to drain your reservoir, an 8mm wrench for the nipples, and a hose of some kind. First you apply the nipple, voila, and then you apply the hose. The next step is you make sure that the reservoir is drained. Okay, which in my case it's fairly drained. So I'm just going to fill up a bit. So I mix the new and the old fluid. take your turkey baster, you push it, get it in there, and just let it suck out most of the fluid. But make sure that you don't pass the gap where the fluid touches here. The fluid will touch the hose, because once you cross that line, air will get into the hoses, and it can be fairly more difficult to drain the hoses. I fill it up until the top. So now you use the front brake, you pump it until you feel pressure, open the valve, you keep the brake applied. When the brake is at its end, you keep it applied, you close the valve, you start pumping again, and you check the level now and then. Okay, first one side, then the other side. Always make sure that your hose goes down, so not up, because you're gonna fight gravity. You don't want to fight gravity if it works in your advantage. Okay, so let's go. In the beginning you need to try a lot, because the whole system was opened. So you see it sinking. I see bubbles. You can also check before you continue that everything's closed. If you see oil sipping out somewhere near the bungee bolt or somewhere inside, then you have a problem that you need to fix first. Also, your nipples should both be closed. You can also see sometimes oil sipping out near the nipple. But I'm good. So I just want to build up pressures, but keeps on sucking up fluid. So I'm gonna fill. So in this case, first of course it's gonna push the pistons against the brake rotors. So it needs to fill up the whole caliper. That's why I have to brake a lot, but I already feel a difference. I'm gonna check for leaks for a second time. It's fine. I'm gonna fill up again. Now I'm start thinking, should I bought the second bottle or not, but a half a liter should be okay. I can feel it, hear it near the ABS. Yeah. So the situation now, I had noise near the ABS and it's pushing out air via this reservoir, and at this time the brake pads are already seated against the rotor, which is good. There's progress. This is a little bit more of a challenge. You need to position yourself. But it's possible like this. Close the valve and release the handle. You keep pumping. No air coming out. A little bit. On board. I'm going to fill it up again. One more time. So I've been back and forth maybe 5 times, and basically now it's really starting to look well. So I've done this now 3 times, and they had no air in it. So I'm gonna swap the last time and hope that we're done. Now I have air. Here again. Not yet. On the other side. I'm just gonna keep pumping now until it's below the maximum level, or just on the same level of the maximum level, and then we should be fine. I actually used almost the entire bottle. It's just a little bit in there. So very important now is that you close it real good. Okay, and we're gonna put the tie wrap in here. If there's any excess air still in there, yeah, it can go out via this way. Okay, so for now we're gonna apply this one, yes, on there, so it doesn't take too many moist, but we're not gonna seed it completely. Okay, just a little bit, and that's it overnight, and tomorrow you can release it. And the last thing you should do is remove everything. take some brake cleaner and give it a good soak. So that's it, the front brakes. I hope you learned something. I know it's not always the perfect way to do it because it's trial and error. This bike has been sitting a long time. It's really intense surgery, and there are a lot of things happening that I had not foreseen already, and I've just done the front. So that promises promised to me what the hell is coming. Huh? I think way more surprises in the future, but it also has a good thing because you guys can subscribe on the channel and maybe learn something else about the coolant, which is still coming. Will be Samco hoses and a complete flush of the system. I will have a complete overhaul of the electrical system. Then of course the chain, well, a lot of things coming. The steering as well needs to be in new bearings. So yeah, I hope you guys keep following, and thank you.